Tonight on Podcast Them Down, Bruce Dickinson returns to Iron Maiden with, let's say, mixed results. How about that?
Podcast Them Down!
Hail, Metal Nation! It is we, Tim, Doug, and Matt. It is Iron Maiden, where we are reviewing the entire Iron Maiden discography. We left off the last episode with the 2 Blaze Bayley albums, and, like I said, he's gone, and it's who are they going to get to replace him? I don't know. And so, if you are new here, you wouldn't realize that we're kind of scoring these atypically. We're coming up with a consensus score, which is not very metal. And you know what?
Yeah,
it's about as metal as Iron Maiden.
From.
Yeah. It's about as it's about as metal as Iron Maiden is progressive, which is a word I keep seeing thrown around for these next few albums. And
yep,
I don't think they know what that means. The people reviewing these albums. Yeah, it's so progressive.
Prog Magazine thinks they know what it means.
They're just because you repeated something so many times, your song got to 9 minutes. That doesn't make it progressive.
I would agree that these songs are progressive, but I'm not sure they're progressive.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it's like a wind, wind, read, red thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Doug. So, while Blaze Bayley was blowing his voice out because he was he was being forced to sing things outside of his register, and he was giving it his all, Iron Maiden decided to have a meeting with him and asked him to leave. Yeah, it's I can't tell if it's too business or too British, but apparently they had him in a meeting when they told him this. What was Bruce Dickinson up to all this time?
All right, so Bruce Dickinson had a lively solo career during and after leaving Maiden the first time. I guess he'd just done a project called Skunk Works in '96, which was him doing alt rock. Also in Skunk Works was a young hotshot Los Angeles guitarist named Roy Z, and they decided to bring back metal. So Bruce Dickinson, Roy Z, and Adrian Smith released a couple of solo albums of the Bruce Dickinson name. That Accident of Birth in '97 with the Derek Riggs cover. New mascot called Edison.
Oh, really?
It's different.
And it's an incredibly graphic cover too. The original pressing, I think they cut it here. That was incredibly well received. It was probably called contemporary metal then. You probably could describe it as like groove metal with the melodic dynamics of Iron Maiden. And then in '98, they released The Chemical Wedding, which was an even better record that is often regarded as one of the best metal albums of the '90s. So that was all happening concurrent to Virtual 11. And I don't remember whether it was a foregone conclusion that Bruce Dickinson would come back after they got rid of Blaze, if that was really what they were setting up for. But
it says here, while the group were considering a replacement for Bayley, Rod Smallwood convinced Steve Harris to invite Bruce Dickinson back into the band, although Harris admitted that he, quote, wasn't really into it at first. He then thought, quote, well, if the change happens, who should we get? The thing is, we know Bruce and we know what he's capable of, and you think, well, better the devil you know. I mean, we got on well professionally for like 11 years. And so after I thought about it, I didn't really have a problem with it.
Yeah, the things they will say about each other sometimes is great.
That's him. That's like something he said in a positive way. That's supposed to be a positive comment about Bruce coming back. And it's clearly a I fucking hate this guy situation.
Well, and Bruce Dickinson does not hide the part of him that you might hate. I give him credit for that. He's always himself. So yeah, then not only did Bruce Dickinson return, but Adrian Smith, who'd been in Bruce Dickinson's solo band, also returned to Maiden. They made the decision to simultaneously keep Adrian Smith's replacement, Yannick Gers. So we ended up with a three-headed beast, three lead guitars, Bruce back, and Steve Harris, of course, and Nico McBain. You got something?
I wonder
Tim?
how they worked out who's doing what leads. You know,
Well,
that's my solo.
Yeah,
but I do it better.
disciplined enough to pay attention, but I haven't. There must be some triple solos in some of these songs.
Yeah, I'd have to hear live versions. Some of the ones we're going to talk about today, they're massively underutilizing three lead guitarists. But there was a handful of spots where all three guitars are doing completely different things. But I would think that the most obvious place for three guitarists is one does rhythm, one does the lead, and the other harmonizes it. You know, which is a very Maiden thing to do. They do it on all the records, and now they can do it live. You know, but
Fuck it.
And I will.
We'll do it live. Do I have that?
All right, so they released a comeback album, I guess you could say, in 2000 called Brave New World, which was on.
There it is. Brave New World, yep.
And this was their return to a major label.
So they didn't tour, by the way, they did tour before. So he came back, and then they toured, and then they put out an album.
Yeah, was that the Ed Hunter tour?
It was, in fact.
Yeah, and Bruce, to his credit, has no issue whatsoever with playing the Blaze Bayley material, some of which deserves to be played.
And some might even say that it sounds better with Bruce singing it than with Blaze singing it.
Some might.
By way of contrast, has Halford ever done anything that Ripper recorded?
No. Yeah, absolutely not.
If they stuck it on his teleprompter, do you think he could do it?
Well, and no.
Bloodstained.
And we'll talk about this more in our replacement singer comparison episode coming. Like, one of the key differences between Maiden and Priest that is worth calling out, and we'll do right here, is Maiden was always Maiden. Now, Maiden has the dueling influences of Bruce Dickinson and Steve Harris, certainly, and that the band became all Steve Harris. But it was fundamentally still Iron Maiden. Judas Priest was trying to be a different band with Ripper. They were trying to be 90s Slayer on Jugulator, and then Demolition was like trying to be every type of hard rock music at once.
I think that is a good point, because I think Judas Priest much more saw a new singer as a way to redefine genre, kind of adapt with the time, whereas I mean, some of it, I hope Tim doesn't play his like synthesizer keyboard thing again. But I mean, there is some evolution of Iron Maiden over time. But there's still kind of like an Iron Maidenness throughout the Blaze era. It's not a good Iron Maidenness. One might say it's all
like everything that's wrong with Iron Maiden.
Yeah, it's like everything you hate about Iron Maiden is coming to the fore.
Yeah, then they stuck Blaze Bayley onto it.
Yeah.
And he had to endure the brunt of of it.
I mean, if anything, you could say that Blaze Bayley is the least bad part of the 10, 11 series.
100% agree.
Like, but those are inherent Iron Maiden tropes and issues that just got magnified without, I guess, the gravitational pull of Bruce, rather than some systemic change.
And it should be like Smith Dickinson was wrote a lot of their biggest songs. So Adrian Smith was greatly missed too. Now Tim's already commented on Yannick Gers dancing and all that, but the man can play guitar and write music. And in the Blaze era and beyond, he's on some good songs. So not going to diss him for that. But Adrian Smith, very much welcome back.
I mean, I'm literally changing my name to Smith Dickinson right now.
And
So-
if you can't keep them straight, by the way, if you can't keep them straight, here's how I've been doing it. All right. So Yannick Gers is the guy who kind of looks like the Eddie from the first album.
Like,
Yeah.
but as a human.
And and he's the one spinning around and like an idiot on stage.
Okay. Yeah, Tim hates
Adrian
that.
Smith is the guy wearing the bandana who looks like he's part of the crew, but he's actually the guitarist. All right.
Correct.
Then Dave Murray looks like someone's grandma. That's how you tell them apart.
I can't dispute any of these assertions here.
Yeah, and I think Adrian Smith was more into the progressive and even some of the neoclassical stuff, So he's much welcome back and getting away a little bit from some of the bluesiness that was endemic in his absence. All right, so we get Brave New World, and I think we have to remember the context of heavy metal in the year 2000. It was completely dead. All the big bands were gone or not playing metal. Maiden had been playing smaller and smaller crowds for a long time. And then they reform and they're on, I believe, BMG, or EMI major label. So what do you do with this? Who's the audience even, right? Because there was this, when they were a truly mass market band, you had the kids of the 80s who are now much older. And it wasn't clear that the younger folks were ever going to embrace Maiden in the same way that you had a generation earlier. So I think Brave New World is, if you pay attention to the videos, the sound, and especially the imagery, is actually kind of waffly in that it's going for both sort of a classic rock, kind of dad rock vibe, but also trying not to turn you off if you're a Maiden person.
Yeah.
So the cover is by Derek Riggs. It's a Photoshop job. It's the one behind Tim, but it's very subdued. It looks like a prog cover. And you just have the Eddie in the clouds. That's the only sort of pop grotesque thing in it. And if we look at the picture on the back, they look like Bon Jovi.
I gotta see this. I'm not gonna get up and get my copy of Brave New World, which is right over there.
Does that work?
Well, I mean, they do.
I mean, everyone had frosted tips around this time.
I mean, they look like the Bon Jovi that did like the Diet Coke ad. It's like not even the real Bon Jovi.
Yeah, and then we get to the music, which does sound like Iron Maiden, but it's got these dad rock vibes too.
Yeah, I mean, does it sound like Iron Maiden, or does it just sound less like 10 and 11? And that's an honest question, because I think there are more the Iron Maiden tropes are there, but we've just talked about how they persist through 10 and 11. Is it just more predictably like this is what we expect? But I do think there's some, unfortunately, maybe not entirely in this record, but coming up, the bad habits are still there, but not necessarily what we like about Iron Maiden.
Yeah, and so I would say with Brave New World, there's a ton of hedging of bets.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to appeal to their old fans grown up, their old fans not grown up, and then anyone younger who got into while pretending just to be Iron Maiden. And sort of the most Maiden songs on this record, we'll go song by song in a second, were actually written for Virtual 11. The first single is The Wicker Man, which is I guess it's a horror movie, British horror movie, The lyrics have nothing to do with it, which is an interesting choice. They put this sort of pop graphic name on the song, but the song's just vaguely kind of apocalyptic. It's a good song. The classic, like, pseudo speed metal Iron Maiden single, but just not, it's serviceable and it's structurally in the right place on the record, but it's not exceptional.
Well, I mean, I actually am very angry at the Wicker Man because spoiler alert, I haven't listened to this album in a long time, but I very much had 11 in my mind. And then I turned on the Wicker Man and I was like, fuck yeah, they're back, baby. And then I heard the other 10 tracks. I was like, what the fuck is this?
No, I think the Wicker Man is one of the top 2 songs on here. It's fantastic. and for the most part, the rest of this is, well, I was going to say it's forgettable, but it's not. It's irritating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that immediately sticks out, even the Wicker Man, is the lyrics are more symbolic than narrative. Maiden songs often have sort of a strong narrative. These are just image and word, dream of mirrors, things floating. There's less story apparent in the song.
It's just literal. It's like literal, like The Mercenary is a song about a mercenary. The Fallen Angel is a song about a fallen angel. It's like there's no richness. It's just like, would you like a song about a nomad walking the desert? Well, here it is.
Well, I think you've mentioned all the actual Maiden songs of the record, Matt, most of which I think perhaps besides The Fallen Angel were written during the Virtual 11 sessions.
Okay.
So this here says Adrian Smith says he wasn't there, so who knows? Who knows? The Nomad, Dream of Mirrors, and The Mercenary were originally written for Virtual 11, and Blaze Bayley claimed to have provided some lyrics for Dream of Mirrors, but wasn't credited. According to Steve Harris, work had also begun on Blood Brothers during that period, but it wasn't completed at that time. Oh, he didn't figure out how to say we're Blood Brothers 64 times by then?
Yeah.
Wait,
it takes 7 minutes to do that.
I'm going to pitch something to you guys. What if we just repeat Blood Brothers until blood literally comes out of our ears and mouth?
Brilliant.
Well, I do love how Bruce Dickinson has to go up and sing that or No More Lies with a straight face. Occasionally.
We'll get there. Yeah, so that's about half the album right there, was at least
so if we go song by song, Ghost of the Navigator, that's a great song.
According to someone who wasn't there. Yes, so Ghost of the Navigator would be my other top 2 song.
Yeah.
So before re-listening to this, I was going, yes, I'm looking forward to this one. I love this album. Well, it turns out I'm pretty sure I only listened to the first 4 tracks.
Yeah.
When I loved this album, and I turned out maybe that's how long my drive was. Wherever I was driving, I heard 4 songs. I'm done. I took it out.
You are absolutely right, because I had the exact same impression. I remember liking this album. I was looking forward after the slog that we've been through. I was like, well, at least I'll get a breather listening to this genuinely good album before we descend into the pits of the Tartarus. But all of a sudden, after like track 4.5, I was like, wait. Did someone like did Apple Music skip ahead? Did I press like randomize? What happened?
Well, maybe it goes back to what he was saying about heavy metal was dead in 2000. I mean, Metallica's latest thing was the Mission Impossible 2 song. Where Jason Newsted couldn't get through the crowd in the music video because they used up all the money on the plane for Lars Ulrich. And then Megadeth had just released a fucking hockey anthem, Crush 'em, that didn't work. Yeah, so.
I think they de-emphasize the metal tropes as much as they can while still calling themselves Iron Maiden, particularly on this record. And it's not even a maturity thing. It's a positioning thing, because truly, this is before any of the big bands had reformed, I believe. So who was going to buy this? It's on a major label. Is it their old fans from the 80s, and are they still metal people, or do they want to listen to something a little more adult? And I think that's what they delivered. And the metal songs on here are like The Mercenary, The Fallen Angel, The Nomad, two of the three of which came from Virtua 11. And we won't go through you can, with those tracks named and the stuff that was not on the X Factor of Virtua 11, you can fix those two albums pretty easily and keep this album at a good 50 minutes.
Yeah, I think The Mercenary is probably a good song and would have worked well on the last one. Maybe it wouldn't have gotten a 1 if it had The Mercenary on it.
Well, I will say, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I'm just looking at the top 100 singles of 2000 just to kind of situate myself musically.
Is on there.
Oh my! Well, no, it's even worse. So here are the top 5 singles: "Breathe" by Faith Hill, "Smooth" by Carlos Santana and Rob Thomas, "Maria."
That's the name of that song?
Maria by Carlos Santana and The Product GB, "I Wanna Know" by Joe, and "Everything You Want" by Vertical Horizon. Like if I was Al Qaeda and looking at these top 100 albums, I know what I would do. Sorry. But this is not like number 50, "Desert Rose" by Sting featuring Cheb Mami. Number 78, "Crash and Burn" by Savage Garden. Number 95, "Cowboy Take Me Away" by the Dixie Chicks, which was just beaten out by "Bounce With Me," Lil Bow Wow featuring Escape. I mean, this is not
metal was dead. Well, popular metal was dead.
Yeah, it's like, can you bring metal back, or you just do some sort of hard rock? And I think that was their approach on this first record in some regards. Goes to the Navigator. A little long, but the dynamism's there. It's worth the length. Brave New World sucks. The music's okay, and every song, I think going forward is musically interesting at points. But it's the repetitive
track,
chorus.
Doug.
Yeah,
it's the titular track.
I'm just at the risk of repeating myself this entire episode for the rest of this. A lot of these songs have a good idea that's surrounded by a bunch of nothing. And after Ghost of Navigator in particular, I think that's true of almost all these songs, with the exceptions of No More Lives and Blood Brothers. Those are just trash, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, I like Brave New World's concept. And it's one of those things where I keep waiting for
Brave New World?
Yeah.
A Brave New World.
Well, no, I don't like that.
World.
I don't like
Brave
that.
New World.
I don't like that part of it, but I do like its development. I think it's kind of fresh and kind of builds, and it just leads you to a stupid place. But it's like a beautiful path to an outhouse or something. Like at minute 1 through 3, it's okay, and then it just descends into a cesspool. But it's almost
to steal his
that way.
To steal his comment, it doesn't earn its length of 6 minutes 18 seconds.
No.
And it's and the silent Out of the Silent Planet is literally the same song in that regard.
Yeah. By the way, should have been just a track of 9 minutes of silence.
Well, and again, the lyrics here. Well, let's just bash Blood Brothers and get that over with. Again, Steve Harris wrote this from a personal place, so we're not going to bash that. But the song does suck.
I was going to bring that up. What it's about, I'll tell you after we bash it, so that way everyone can feel bad.
Like to Manowar's credit, this would, like, if they wrote this would be 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and that would be, and it would be stupid and fine. It takes Steve Harris 7 minutes to get to the same place, and the chorus. I'm sure you have the exact count, but I think it's like 27 times.
Yeah, it's something. It's all it is we're Blood Brothers. Way too many times, which, as we discussed in previous episodes, is Steve Harris happening to a song and no one telling him no.
Yeah. Well, and this is an interestingly violent song for how kind of like hard rock anthemic it actually is. Like, I might have actually written it differently if they wanted to use it in the way they've used it. Like,
it was
out of the streets where the babies are burned.
Ugh.
Well, another thing now, I'm going to save this comment for another album, but this is the seed of what I call Iron Maiden Renaissance Fest background music, and Blood Brothers is the seed of that. Now, luckily, very soon we get a whole goddamn insipid album of it, but this whole like going up and down the scale, this fucking song started it.
All right, ready to feel bad? It was written by Steve Harris for his late father, was dedicated to Ronnie James Dio throughout 2010 leg of the Final Frontier World Tour following Dio's death. It was dedicated to the victims and friends and family of the band members and audience who were affected by the 2011 Christchurch earthquake. And then it was dedicated to the victims of the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, as well as the revolts in Egypt and Libya, and later the 2011 Norway attacks. Haven't they been through enough?
Thank you. You know what? Why subject these people to another tragedy?
Yeah, and it's only song. It's the only song in this album that's only credited to Steve Harris.
Yeah.
Which, if you compare to the previous album, like, it's just him all over it.
Well, I believe it. I forget if it's Final Frontier or the Dance of Death or something. But one of those albums is has the first ending track in Iron Maiden history not to be written by Steve Harris, and I thought, thank Christ.
All right, so then we get The Mercenary, which is a great, effective, fast song.
Yeah.
That should have been on Virtual 11, and Bruce sounds great. Blaze sounds great. Would have sounded great on it too. And I find it, like, it sounds like it's actually about the most dangerous game. Or I was reading the Metal Archives comments, and one person throws out Predator, and it's probably that.
It is a movie that came out.
Yeah. So then we get to Dream of Mirrors, which has good musical dynamics, but just it's too long a song to be about nothing, which is what it's about.
Yeah, and I thought my CD was messing up because it suddenly speeds up for no reason.
Yeah. I also, as well documented in this Iron Maiden series on Apple Music, I didn't appreciate the beautiful dynamic range that Apple Music provides, just because I was like, fuck you. I don't want to be listening to this song. I don't want to be listening to all these tempo changes, quiet part, loud part. When is this over? Can I just like pull my steering wheel and like fall off this overpass and just end it all?
Apple, send us a check. But like,
Yeah, you really should. Or at least give me like a free month.
there's nothing wrong with those things. It's just they're poorly executed and it's bad songwriting.
Well, yeah, I mean, but
in
that's,
these cases.
you know,
And with-
a lot of people think that like having a well-developed sound, dynamic sound, will save a bad song. Not the case.
So,
If anything, it makes it worse.
yeah, the next track, The Nomad, stretches out to 9 minutes.
Well, we're skipping Fallen Angel, which is
Oh,
another.
I did skip Fallen Angel, just like I wish I did.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I like this song. It's kind of, it sounds like more like Bruce Dickinson's solo material, though he was not involved. Adrian Smith was, but it's got some good cheesy synths.
I did smile thinking of Tim and when I heard the synths.
All right, so I thought about it. I did notice the synths, but the difference between here and the next two albums, the difference between those and Seventh Son is they figured out how to mix it so it doesn't sound like absolute dog shit and just take you out of the music. It's they're blended well and it's not like obnoxious and prominent. It's part of the texture. So I actually don't have a problem with any of the synth or what. Isn't there a brass section that shows up on the thin line between love and hate?
Something like that.
Yes.
Didn't have a problem with that either. I have other problems with all of those songs, but it's not the synth.
It should be acknowledged. This is the first album where they're working in a studio with a producer and not recording in Steve Harris's barn.
Yeah, Bruce Dickinson refused to record in the barn, apparently.
I did notice a considerable lack of hay sounds as they were playing.
So the Nomad, it's got kind of a cheesy Oriental mysticism vibe, and again, kind of
I thought no one knew
more
where it came
narrative,
from.
more metal type imagery than most of this. It would be a good song if it were the last song on the album.
And you know what? It did surprise me how prescient it was, because I expected this kind of song to be a post 9/11 like Iraq War kind of song, just because I think there were a lot. We saw on the Billboard Hot 100 that there was that Sting and Cheb Mami song, so I guess that was already sort of in the zeitgeist. But I would have expected this to be in like a 2003, 2004 album rather than this album. So I guess that's interesting how sort of prescient it will be and sort of anticipatory. It's not a bad song. It's a long song. But it's interesting. Like I don't know that I would return to this song often, but I did not. I have decided one of my metrics for these albums is how much I skip and how quickly I skip the song. And I didn't skip through this song, although I did sort of hover over the button a little bit, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, the right place for this song would have been wherever the Angel and the Gambler was. It would have been
Track 2?
well, yeah, no, they needed to put it as the last song
This is
on
a
Virtual
closing
11.
song. Like this is a good writing out, and then you can have a long song, and it just kind of like off into the Oasis or whatever the fuck is going on here.
Well, and if we do the math here, okay, let's just end this album at the Nomad. It's still a satisfying 50-minute album. 8 songs. It hits all that's appropriate for an album with so many long songs. They should have just ended it there. Instead, we get Out of the Silent Planet, which was another single off this record and just sucks. It sounds Brave New World Part 2.
Influenced by the science fiction movie Forbidden Planet.
All right, now I have to read the lyrics carefully.
Must have been on late at night because that movie came out in 1956.
Yeah, it's a very old movie.
I don't remember any of this. I love the movie.
Oh, it's a novel by C.S. Lewis as well.
Oh, so Kevin Shirley produced this album, by the way. You mentioned the producer, but he's like, by this point, if that name rings a bell, he produced Falling into Infinity by Dream Theater, and I'm pretty sure he's the one Dream Theater kept having all the arguments with.
So that they brought in a prog guy.
Yeah, well,
But I do think
he also did Liquid Tension Experiment and some later Dream Theater stuff. So I guess they reconciled.
I do also think though that this is of the songs on this album, this is the least Iron Maiden sounding. It sounds like something. It sounds like Dream Theater maybe, especially like early 2000s Dream Theater, but it doesn't, even though it has like the let's repeat the same word 50,000 times, it doesn't particularly sound, it sounds more like groovy, like jammy prog rock than Iron Maiden to me.
Which is probably exactly why it was a single. They were just shooting in the dark.
Maybe, yeah.
So then we get to the thin line between love and hate, which
Not so
actually
thin.
is musically okay, but it's just boring Steve Harris. Like, I don't know how you describe this lyrics, like human relationship. I don't lyrics
Just-
about nothing.
Yeah, and it's again this. All these songs could have been tightened up.
Yeah.
But
Just
cut
also
out
I
the
feel
fluff
like
and it might have been more interesting.
a closing track needs to make you feel upset that the album is over. Like you want to finish strong and you want to be like, God damn, I wish there was more to hear. But when this song ends, I'm just like, thank fucking Christ. I don't have to listen to any more. Right?
Yeah, I agree. They could have cut it off at the Nomad and been fine.
Yeah. I the more I think about it, the more I'm just, it overstays its welcome. And all that anticipation from The Wicker Man, and some of these tracks we talked about that are good and kind of like returning to the Iron Maiden that we found okay. I'm not going to say we loved, right? But, there's like goodness and we're like, okay, now we're back on the right path. And then it's just like, fuck you, shut up.
And I think a problem this album has that is recurrent going forward is the integration of, 4-minute driving rock songs with these long compositions.
Yeah.
And when you have this many long songs, and I'm not saying you can't do that, but you can't just put them at the end. I think the next record actually handles this okay, but this one definitely does not. I don't know how to fix this track order, but it's not right. And part of it is excluding some of these songs.
I wonder, we talk a lot about how some of the virtual 11 tracks, these are virtual 11 sessions. I wonder if you had a magic wand and could either bring Bruce back earlier or keep Blaze on later. I wonder if between these two albums is something really good and salvageable and interesting, or if it's just necessarily
I think there is. I was thinking too much about this, but it's like, so we go back to the X Factor, right? And you have a bunch of songs that are okay, but all sound the same. Mm-hmm. So kick a few of those off, bring those singles that appeared on the B-side that are 4-minute hard driving rock songs, put those on the X Factor. If we must have Sign of the Cross, make it the last track, get that to a solid 45, 50 minutes. Boom, we fixed the X Factor. Then we come to Virtual 11, take off the Angel and the Gambler, take off the song about being afraid of strangers. That's a different song. But yeah, cut off half the record, more than half. You're probably just keeping Future Real and When Two Worlds Collide.
Yeah, but then you have to take the Mercenary off Brave New World and put it on there too.
Yeah, you did and let's dump Dream of Mirrors. It's better than that. Make that your track 2, even though that's stupid.
It still improves the album.
Yeah, it's
That's the
still
goal here.
So you could have gotten this up. You drop the educated fool and don't look into the eyes of a stranger. Well, we didn't talk about it, but I do like the lightning strikes twice and how Blaze vocalizes lightning striking.
No,
There's a musical term for that, but yeah, that was a nice camp moment we missed. So yeah, I think you can fix those 3 records and get them all to okay.
Yeah, like between these 3 albums, let's say there's an album and a half of good music. I think we'd all be satisfied with that.
Okay, so that's it for this one, right?
Yeah.
So they toured for this album before we get to the score, they toured for this album for until 2022. They called it the Metal 2000 tour because
get it?
2000, you had to stick 2000 on everything. They said it was intended to restore the concert glory of the band from the 80s. So they had a huge lighting rig with moving parts. And do you want to guess how many lamps? Because we were up in the thousands, I think, before.
I think it's 2000s. They're going to bring back the lamps.
Doug said 400. I think he's closest by Price is Right rules, 600 lamps. And pyrotechnics, which, remember, everyone was disappointed there weren't pyros in the 90s. So they brought back.
Well, there were, but they would come a year later.
Damn it! I thought you were gonna say there were pyrotechnics, but James Hetfield absorbed them all.
I think that was in the 90s.
That was 93. A walking Eddie, a large wicker Eddie with dancers in the center, a burning cross lifting Bruce Dickinson up, and backdrops and conceptual scenery related to the Brave New World album cover illustration. They were nominated for a bunch of stuff. No one cares about awards. Or at least they don't today, so whatever.
We can't do pyro, James, because they're all in your skull.
So, yeah. Let's throw a number on here.
Okay, I'm just going to
throw. I'd still rather listen to this than Fear of the Dark, though.
I'm going to give it a 5. I'm going to say this is a fine enough album. I believe we gave some of these earlier albums 6s. It's an improvement. It's a step in the right direction. And as much as I admire Blaze as a performer, he is not the right fit for this band. And I think
that's because they just don't know how to write for him.
Well, but that's it. That's it. I mean, like, think sports, think acting. There are great performers. There are great actors. There are great athletes who just don't fit in the system. And,
like that movie from around the same time, the Sixth Sense. That guy in the hairpiece the whole time was Bruce Willis.
Yeah, that's
and
if you'd let him be Bruce Willis rather than some rando guy, it's like it's a return. It feels like the band is on the right track. They will squander this goodwill very soon. In fact, if you speed the podcast up 3 minutes, you'll hear all about it. But at least here, there's confidence. It's good. It's returning to the trend. It's a 5.
Are you holding an Amazon gift card?
I am.
Did you know there's a way to tell if it's authentic or not? Just give me the number and I can tell you if it's authentic.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
AQEB.
Yeah. Oh, that one's not authentic.
Oh, fuck. I guess I'll just send it to you.
All right,
Tim.
Yeah, I gotta score it higher than Fear of the Dark, which we agreed was a 4, but I feel like I gave it a much lower number than that.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, so I think half of the album's pretty good. Tracks 1, 2, 3, and 5. So half of it's good. I could call it a 5. but so much of it is aimless. There are good parts of the aimless songs.
Mhm.
So I would estimate that half of the aimless songs are good. So I'm 5 all the way. It's just a 5.
All right, I'm going to go with a 7, so we land on a 6.
All right, 6. That's as good as the debut album, self-titled Iron Maiden.
I think it would be fair to say this is their best. We had a minority report, minority opinion on Seventh Son, but this is certainly their best album since Seventh Son.
We had one accurate opinion and 2 people who apparently have hearing problems.
Doug, can you promise me you'll never stop being you?
I'll do my best. So it's a strong comeback record, but it is overrated. I don't understand why people think, even if you like their new stuff, I think Matt and I are about to get into it because I think Dance of Death is more interesting. So let's move on to that.
Yeah, I think this is more polarizing than I expected because I also was peeking at some reviews, and actually it was reviews for the next one, Matter of Life and Death, that all reference Dance of Death. So.
Oh, this is really interesting because I will just lay my cards on the table. The next 2 albums, one of them I despise, one of them I am overjoyed at listening to. And the one that I despise is Dance of Death because it is just regurgitated garbage again and again and again. It's the same 3 ideas. It's the same 3 Renaissance fair guitar licks, just mangled and presented as something interesting and original. And it's not. It's really bad. It's incredibly bad. It's worse than every other album.
I am going to jump ahead real quick. Dance of Death, one of them played like that, and they go, that sounds like a dance. Like, yeah, but we have to make it evil. Dance of Death. And then they're all high-fiving.
Dumb story about where that song comes from. It's like someone had a dream, and then they gave it to someone else, and they wrote the song, and then for some reason it's set in the Everglades, which is a nice touch.
I almost drove the car off the road because I thought of Dance of Death as a nice medieval song, and then all of a sudden it's in the Everglades. But I can encapsulate my feelings of Dance of Death. So I would like to direct all the podcast and downers to go to the Dance of Death Wikipedia page. And if you scroll down, you can see the original unused album art cover, which is just Eddie as the Grim Reaper with some spooky figures behind him. It's a perfectly wonderful album cover. It's an Iron Maiden album cover.
You know what? Go look up Children of Bodom Follow the Reaper.
I mean,
that's the exact same cover. It's the same cover.
That's fine. But look at what
no, maybe it's Hatebreeder. Hang on.
Yeah, it's
Go
similar.
ahead.
Yeah, the red. Yeah. This is more Maiden, though. That's cartoony, if I recall.
But just look at it is Hatebreeder. It's more green than orange. But look at the actual album cover. What in the name of God is going on? There's just naked pigmen, a wolf, a midget. I have no idea what's going on in this track.
I want to give some context for because I remember learning of this out. Well, okay, I remember learning of Brave New World. We were going to the beach, and so it must have been released in the early summer. And I was like, "Oh, there's a new Maiden record," and I bought it. For Dance of Death, I was working at the radio station, and we got it, and I was super excited because the radio station, you have to play stuff that was sent to you, some percentage of each show. I was like, hell yes. And I pull it out, and I look at the cover, and I'm like, computer graphics have gotten way better than this. This seems like a low-effort, early 90s rendering of something.
Well, I think it's either the Wikipedia page or somewhere. But what happened was the producer or their manager didn't like the empty cover, so the artist was tasked with filling it up with stuff. So they had some guy he met on IronMaiden.com do that, and then he was going to come back in and embellish it, but I think found it hopeless. And then Rod Smallwood apparently thought that looked great, so they went with it.
Well, he's wrong.
Bruce Dickinson later called the cover embarrassing.
Well, and they have all these like expensive pictures in here that are actually kind of beautiful now because they're all on film, but it's like, dancers and long exposure. So they spent a lot of money on the art, just not the part people see.
The characters surrounding Eddie were created using a program called Poser.
Oh no.
It's really called Poser. That's right. You should have left the hall and not fucked with the album cover.
Well,
they're all in the hall.
I do remember this was the first Maiden album I bought day and date at the Columbia Best Buy, which was at a different place back then. It was over in Snowden Crossing.
Really? I always got them from record and tape traders in Catonsville.
Nice.
I wasn't there yet. That's why. And we hadn't met. All right, let's jump into the music. So we open with a affirming rock ballad about letting go of the past and hitting the open road. Now, remember, the metal community did not like this song. It's fine. Who cares?
Yeah, I agree. It's fine. Who cares?
This is almost a Who song. I get a lot of earlier, I think it was the Seventh Son, people were saying there were lots of like AC/DC sort of vibes. But in this album, I get some The Who vibes. And again, it's just
the Who?
Exactly.
The Who?
It's
supposed to say yes, and then I go, I love progressive, how progressive this album is.
Yeah, yes. It just seems like it should be the opening track to it, like CSI Des Moines or something.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. And it has an annoying animated video, if I recall.
Oh, really? I was thinking it was more like, do you remember that movie with all the washed up actors who go on the motorcycle ride, Wild Hogs?
Wild Hogs?
Yeah. I feel like this would be over the credits. I'm on my way. I'm on the road again.
Wild Hogs soundtrack.
So I legitimately like the next song, Rainmaker.
The next song is the best song on the album.
I agree too. Like, that's the one where it's like, you can tell me we can stop the rain or something like that. Yeah,
we can all change and find something to wash away the tears. Yeah,
and both of these songs clock in at under 4 minutes, which that's the butter zone before anything overstays its welcome.
Well, what I think actually works on this record is it's funny. Matt kept talking about triples because there's this triptych thing where they go with 2 commercial songs then a long song, 2 commercial songs then a long song, and it actually works. Unfortunately, the long song we go to here is No More Lies, which is probably the worst song the band has ever written. I think I would rather listen to whatever the one about, Virtual 11, all the long songs on that I'd rather listen to in a row than never hear this again.
There was so little to No More Lies other than the song title. I can't believe it's 7 minutes and 20 seconds.
Right. You get 5 verses, and then they run out of lyrics, and it's just the chorus which is the song title for the second half of the song.
And it's just like, I feel like a song called No More Lies. If you just said, hey, Doug, third track, No More Lies. You think of like a song with passion, a song with a narrative, a song with some kind of substance.
Right. This
But
is just more proggy images. People
but-
sitting at a table, people
Yeah.
drinking wine.
but and not even like connected in any meaningful way. It's just like a tableau of here are things you might have heard of.
There's a clock. Yeah. All right. So that song is like Blood Brothers, but even worse.
Mhm.
Then we go on to Montségur, which is about a medieval siege, and it's a great song.
It's not a bad song.
The chorus goes on too long though, because the chorus is like 2 lines that's just repeated too much. But
I
otherwise,
guess
otherwise,
another
anything you
historian
put
ruins
after No More
potential.
Lies is going to come off well.
Yeah.
As we kill them all, so God will know him his own. The innocents died for the Pope on his throne. Catholic greed and its paranoid zeal. Curse of the Grail and the blood of the cross. Templars believe with blood on their hands, joined in the chorus to kill on demand. Yeah, that's very metal.
Hammerfall
All
did
of
it.
that.
Hammerfall did it.
Yeah. I mean, this is more about the Cathars. Maybe a historian should ruin this song.
I think so, actually.
Well, let's get to
It's
Matt's
an
favorite
interesting
song.
story.
Matt's favorite song, clocking in at a nice lean 8 minutes and 36
Oh
seconds.
my god.
A story that to chill the bones.
If the goal of this song is to make me want to die, then it succeeded because I prayed for death. Beginning around minute 1, and then it kept going. But
I
death made me come.
confess that this is a terrible song, but I like it.
Oh my god!
because
Of course,
it's terrible in very metal ways.
I can see you with your jaunty jester hat, just like
Yeah, well, and maybe it says something to sort of the Eastender imagination that the Everglades is sort of
like. I
Well,
literally.
I think Nico was living there, or living in Florida by then, so you
Yeah.
should know better.
Like
well,
when,
it doesn't make it clear whether it's the current pacified Everglades or the real Everglades that existed before the WPA.
Okay. All right. Good point. But literally, when I hear this song, I imagine like a white trash like Florida Renaissance fair, and everyone's like getting ready, and like it's like in their locker room, and they're just like putting on their armor, and they're like, "We're gonna go out and bring ye the fair."
So
Oh,
what
hey-
part of all this isn't metal?
I
by the
never
way-
said it wasn't metal, Doug. I just said it's a horrible song.
By the way, No More Lies, only song on this album that is credited only to Steve Harris. He
That
needs
scans.
these people to edit him and tell him not. There's more to a chorus than the song title. All right, so then
I think they settle now for just getting their songs also on the record.
so after Dance of Death, I think something was wrong with this CD too, because suddenly there's a Van Halen song coming
Yes.
next.
This is
Or
or this
Gates
is
of
also
Tomorrow?
very this is very the Hooey too, in my opinion.
And they're weird, like they're just sort of this and New Frontier are both sort of good and evil lyrics. Like they're not about anything.
Right. Yeah, and this one just kind of comes off uninspired. Not that No More Lies came off inspired, but yeah, it's just like I don't know. Make a forgettable song. Okay. All right, then New Frontier, which is the only song that Nico McBrain has a writing credit on. I don't know what the drummer did to write a
He
song.
did that.
but-
There is a ding dinging, so maybe he did that.
Yeah, and it's another
Another.
Kind of competent, but completely generic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's right in the song lyrics. Recycled again. A lifetime of pain.
Like it's almost like an AI generated Iron Maiden song.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
like
and it's-
these two songs aren't bad. It's just they're just meh.
It's not great.
And we have, it's a 68-minute album, so we have some slack here.
Right.
We could deliver a slick 45-minute album with probably what we're going to get to by the end, but no. So then we get Passchendaele, which is a fantastic song.
This is a good song.
I disagree.
good
I remember
sense.
liking it before, but the best song about Passchendaele was written by Sabaton before they started using cardboard tanks and confetti to show how fun war is. So it's called The Price of a Mile. I think that is a far better song about Passchendaele. My problem with Passchendaele is it starts too happy. It's not sad enough because of what. Oh my! Go read about the Battle of Passchendaele.
Yeah.
I know I don't need to tell you, but like, if you want to understand why the music so doesn't fit the subject, you have to read about the Battle of Passchendaele. Now, parts of the song are good. It's just the other parts of it just don't fit the subject whatsoever. And I think Price of a Mile does.
Another thing that really bothers me is they just misspell Passchendaele. I mean, it's Passchendaele, and this is just like not the way it's spelled in any language.
I kind of like that because there's no reason to misspell it.
Yeah, but okay. But it's just like, why? Why do that?
All right, so mixed opinion. Then we get to Face in the Sand, which is a song about
Face
the Iraq War through the lens of the media.
But they've already done this song. It's called The Nomad. So why do it again?
And this is the only Maiden song where Nico McBain ever plays traditional double kick.
Oh, really?
Double bass. Yeah. And he found it so uncomfortable, he'll never play it live or record that way again.
It's like I'm in some goddamn metal band or something.
I like this song. It's nothing special.
Yeah, it's again. I agree. Again, it's nothing special. And on Brave New World, did they bring up any like social topic?
But
I'm trying to remember.
Social topics are there to bring up in 2000?
Yeah,
right?
no, they were doing the social issues type stuff in the 90s, but yeah, Brave New World played it so safe.
You want a Hanging Chad song? Like I don't know what you want.
So I think I'm just bringing it up because I think this is the first one that's like about current events, which I don't think Iron Maiden should be doing.
I mean, but this is also 2003. Like literally every band is doing some kind of political like fucking Nine Inch Nails did a whole album about George W. Bush, right? It's fine. You can
Did
do
you know
this.
Rage Against the Machine did a bunch of political songs?
This is legit. This is legit. I remember being in college.
Yeah.
And there was like this very conservative guy in my French class who said his favorite band was Rage Against the Machine. And I was like, they're like very communist, right? He's like, what are you talking about, man? They're great when you're lifting weights.
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Yeah, that's what I said to my mom. I was like, when they said some of those who work forces are the same who light torches? Let me explain what that means.
I love how that song is written so generic. Whatever your cause is, that song fits it. It's about Vietnam, maybe. It's about racial strife. maybe, whatever.
It's like
Unlike-
remember when they said they murdered X and tried to blame it on Islam. That's not just a generic lyric, sir. They're talking about something very specific.
Well, finishing with Face in the Sand, I'm pretty sure the end of that song has like a thing that would work great live. And I wonder, have they ever played it's like a whoa, you can totally see the whole crowd doing it. But have they played this? Because I know they've played No More Lies. They've subjected crowds to that. Millions of people have had to hear that.
I believe this one's never been played live.
This one would do better live, Face in the Sand.
Yeah.
But you know what? Again,
we're also past the window where you could pull this one out.
Yeah.
Because no one cares about a deep track on Dance of Death right now.
But you know what? Much like the last record, I feel like Face in the Sand could end this album.
Yeah, so the next one
It would certainly, yes. If we just lost these last two songs, we'd be on a good note.
Yeah, so next is Age of Innocence.
So this is another Steve Harris worrying about the future of the world song. Are the kids going to be okay?
As long as they don't listen to satanic records like Iron Maiden. Oh.
And then we get...
I do appreciate that he uses the word despondent. I think it's my favorite use of despondent in popular music. But
okay, so then yeah. So then we get Journeyman, where I guess they got some acoustic guitars out of storage, and they said, let's do something awful on these. And that's how Journeyman came about.
Yeah, isn't it about traveling musical performers?
Yeah.
Oh, so it fits with the Renaissance Fest people, doesn't it?
The opening kind of rips off Dust in the Wind too. Like like if I was like a DJ, I would definitely play Dust in the Wind and then fade into Journeyman, and then the people would jump the DJ booth and rip my body apart.
The song, the chorus is I do what I want and I say what I want and no one can take that away. And by the time he finishes repeating it too many times, I don't believe him anymore. No one wants to sing this song.
No one wants to.
Yeah, and his delivery of that it's very whiny Renaissance fair sounding.
Yeah.
I do what I want. I say what I want.
So if Dance of Death is them getting ready, this is the fair is now closed. The turkey leg booth is like cleaning up, and they're just getting out of their gibbets and things as the sun is setting in the west.
All right, so let's put some numbers on this, Matt.
Okay, so as much as I dislike this album, I don't hate. I mean, I hate this album. I wish it didn't exist, but it's not a bad album in the sense where it's it's a crime against humanity, but it's not a crime against music. So I'm gonna give it a 4. This is a downgrade from Brave New World. It's definitely a movement in the wrong direction, but there's, as we've mentioned, there are 3-4 salvageable tracks here, and some like No More Lies are necessary to remind you why you can't be an Iron Maiden fan like you could be a fan of a good band. Like, they're good to like keep you humble. It's like Iron Maiden has made some pretty good songs. And then like, I'll say, what about No More Lies though? And you're like, you're right. I enjoy them, but they're not my favorite band.
What if they said, I've seen it live and I love that song? How hard would you punch them?
I would say, I would call ahead to work and say, I'm sorry, I'm fired. And also, I would then, run off into the wilderness like a face in the sand.
Dance of Death. is similarly to Brave New World has some long songs that you could probably craft something interesting out of. However, it needs to be punished for Journeyman and especially for No More Lies. So I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay.
In my notes to the last, I referenced my cheesy, boring, stupid, I guess it'd be an axis. I don't know what's at which end.
It's like a 3-dimensional shape.
I love it.
And this one's more on the cheesy side, which
Okay.
I actually like. I think this is, I guess it's a step down. I honestly think the highs are more high on this record, and I think some of the bad parts are very metal. I agree with you on Journeyman. I do like how stupid Dance of Death is. So 6.
Okay. 6, 5, and 3.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
I know.
Okay.
4.
You said 4, so probably a 5 then.
Probably a 5. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that.
I'm not, but whatever. Nothing with that song on it should get a 5. So, let's see. I think.
So I just want to say I might have had a mini stroke before starting A Matter of Life and Death because I love this entire album.
Well,
I did not skip a single song.
We might actually have to save it for the next one and spill into June. What do you say about that?
Oh my God. Iron Maiden?
June. Maiden.
Yeah, we're giving each of these albums the time they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, I really think our goal for the listener, pull back the curtain. Our goal was to do all 3 of these albums, and I was thinking they're similar enough where we could just plow through them. Nope. Turns out they're not. So,
not at all.
And I think Matt and I are going to be on the same page here. This album is incomparable to the last 2.
No, that is 100%.
Interesting. Well,
maybe
I should re-listen. I'll give it a rare
Fuck it, Tim.
re-listen.
We don't have to listen to it. 10.
Well, okay. So we'll pick it up there.
Pick it up there.
Yeah. What? Next time, Metal Nation, we will pick it up at A Matter of Life and Death. Until then, keep it. I don't know. Oh, I got it.
Keep your face in the sand.
No, delete the last 2 songs and you'll instantly improve your album. You're welcome. Free advice from Podcast Them Down.
And just play it on random.
Cast them down.
We should see how often that comes up with a better track order than Iron Maiden. Because I bet it's often.
Is this pair of dice smarter than Iron Maiden? Yes.